If there were ever a time for a company to give AEW a run for its money, it would be January 2024. Now, I don't want people to get my words twisted up. AEW is a very large company with a very large financial backing. However, Impact Wrestling made a major announcement to close out Bound for Glory, and that is the fact that the company is going to be rebranding from Impact Wrestling to TNA Wrestling. And it's a magnificent decision. It's a very, very good business decision. Now, if you watch my main channel, I've talked about Impact having plans for higher production, bigger venues, a lot of things that they have in the works. Now they make the announcement to close out Bound for Glory that they're going back to the TNA brand. And it's a very familiar brand, yet modernized. So why is it that January 2024 is the time for Impact to give AEW a run for its money? It's a very legitimate conversation we should be having. Yes, AEW has very large financial backing, and yes, AEW has a very, 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 very deep roster. However, there's a lot of things that Impact has been doing right for the last few years, and there's a reason why, no pun intended, they are hard to kill. At the same time, you got to look at TNA/Impact. You got to look at this from a perspective that I think a lot of people aren't looking at it from. This company has been doing all the right things from a creative standpoint. When it comes to their women's division, I think it is very, very hard to debate that they have the best women's division. And it's not just based on matches. The matches are good, but TNA and Impact have always had this thing about women's wrestling where they don't have to brag about how good their division is. They just constantly have stories and big feuds happening in their women's division. They do a very good job handling their women's division, their knockouts division, I should say. And other companies could learn from that. But when you do a massive rebrand like this, I see people on Twitter, they're already saying, well, it's just TNA, nobody really cares, or who's going to care about it? The only people that are going to care about it are the people who currently watch them. That could very well be true. However, what nobody's taking into account is how massive this has already become. Within minutes of the announcement, TNA is back became a trending topic, and at this stage of the game, it has been trending all night and all day, which means that people are very excited about this change. It's the most buzz that they've had as a company in a very, very, very long time. So how is it that they're going to give AEW a run for their money? And I think there's a variety of things. We know they're going to be increasing their production. We know that they're going to be doing bigger venues. If those things, in combination with their creative, continue to be successful, people will automatically start getting acclimated to the product and start tuning in again. People who watch TNA or Impact, they know how good the product is. The people who don't watch it probably have a sour taste in their mouth from what the company was in the past. But it's different ownership. It's different management. It's a different roster. There's a lot of changes. So the TNA name is actually a really good business decision because for those who stepped away from TNA, they will kind of remember it and it might intrigue them to tune in again. You combine that in with a bigger venue and better production, it's going to look like it's the product that people should be watching. And I can speak very highly about Impact's roster, but more importantly, I can speak very highly about their management. They have a very good management team. Scott D'Amore is doing a lot of incredible stuff in TNA Impact. So the company is going to be changing. But I feel like what's really going to happen is that this is going to surge a brand new era for TNA as a company. And that's kind of what they needed. They needed something big to spark interest. And I think, I believe that I have the confidence in them from a creative standpoint that the more people who end up tuning in, the more people who end up watching it, the more people that are getting familiarized with the fact that this is going to be a new era, I'm very confident in their creative ability to keep people to stay and watch the show. So if there was ever a time, it's literally hard to kill 2024. There's going to be a lot of things that they're going to have to do to captivate people's interest. Obviously, being in a bigger venue and having better production is a very, very good start. But you're going to need to do a little bit more. This is not going to be easy. We're not going to act like it's easy. It's going to be an uphill climb. Around that time, all of the released WWE superstars in the last month will be able to find a new job. And I'm sure some of these people will go to AEW. But if I'm Scott D'Amore, if I'm Impact Wrestling, if I'm TNA, I'm definitely making an offer for some of these signings. Mustafa Ali, Speedball Mike Bailey, though that's a match that I want to see. And I just feel like Mustafa Ali could do a lot of great things in Impact, especially when it comes to creative freedom and having the ability to do the character and the stuff that you want. That place is ultimately going to be a great fit for him. I even have a little bit of curiosity with Dolph Ziggler, because Dolph Ziggler has been part of the WWE system for like 15, 20 years or whatever it may be. I imagine watching Dolph Ziggler being able to have the freedom to do what he wants to do in TNA could be a really big deal. And I think these are the types of things that you'll have to do. I think at Hard to Kill, we're going to see new championship belts and stuff like that, which is fantastic. But I think you really got to signify it's a new era by having new champions crowned, new signings debut, and then, of course, the element of better production. And I think what's going to end up happening, and I'm not saying this is going to be TNA overtaking AEW, because, again, I know some people are going to try to say that. They're not even going to get to this point in the video, and they're going to leave a comment by now just laughing at the idea, maybe based on the headline or whatever. But that's why I think if there was ever a time for a company to really step up and potentially overtake AEW, it's this time. And again, it's not going to be easy. AEW's massive. WWE's obviously massive. But AEW, despite having a massive roster, there are people frustrated with AEW. Maybe you in particular are not frustrated with AEW, but a lot of fans are. A lot of fans thought AEW would be different. A lot of people thought that AEW would ultimately be the product that they choose to watch. And as we have seen, people have gotten phased out from it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's natural. It's going to happen. But it kind of seems like there's like a downward shift with AEW. There's an upward shift with WWE. And I think wrestling fans have a demand for more. And I could be wrong, but I think that's why January 2024, if Hard to Kill has these elements, the better production, the new branding, the stage, right? The new stage, new everything, plus new wrestlers, new belts, really just showing people it's the same company it's always been, but just a remodel, right? I think it could do a lot to increase their momentum. And then I think after months and months and months of consistency, I think that in turn will get more people watching it. I'm seeing a lot of feedback on social media. A lot of people are happy about this. A lot of people. I know people personally who don't really care for TNA. They never really cared for Impact. And those people are telling me, you know what? I'm going to give it a chance. And that's all it is. People will decide to give it a chance. And I think if Impact keeps doing what they're doing, I think we're going to be pretty surprised, but I think TNA is going to do some great stuff. I also want to throw out one last thing, and it hasn't been discussed, but the TV deal, because that would obviously change things for them. If they can land a very, very large TV deal, and look, the AXS deal makes a lot of sense because Anthem owns both Impact and AXS TV. But if they could get a better TV deal that's available in more homes, I think that right there could be a game changer. And I think that could be the direction that we're headed. So ultimately, the more opportunity for people to watch, if they commit creatively to the product like they have been, and they keep making the right business decisions like they have been, I think people are going to be really shocked by their growth. And that's exciting. And I think, whether you guys want to admit this or not, I think in turn, this is going to make AEW try hard. Just like WWE being good makes AEW try hard. It kind of feels like having Impact has kind of been floating around and doing great stuff, but I think this will solidify them as like a legitimate TV product in the world of pro wrestling. And I think that's really massive. It's a big win for pro wrestling. And I think it's going to change a lot of people's outlook on the company, and that's all they really need. And as long as they're doing things consistently, I think people will buy in and watch it. So we'll see. Should be interesting, though.